Welcome to Flight Past. You find me in the Huey here, and we are flying over the Chateau of Hougoumont on the battlefield of Waterloo. We're following, or have been following, Napoleon's journey all the way from Elba. He left Elba on the in February 1815, and he gets to Paris on the 20th of March, and it's called the 100 Days because it's the 100 days that he's in charge again, from the 20th of March to when he is exiled, abdicates in late June of 1815. Now we are here, we've been talking, we're on an episode God knows what now, on YouTube, and we chat here quite slowly, flying the Huey, checking out the battlefield and looking at the lay of the land and how it's affecting the decisions that were made. Now, in the last part, we were talking about the first phase of the Battle of Hougoumont and how the Nassau and the Hanoverians and the Guard light infantry were holding up Jerome's division over here at Hougoumont, and when they had got through the woods to the walls, so we're talking here, this is where Jerome's divisions started from. They came through here, and where Dot is now would have been a wood, and they pushed these light infantry back to the wall of Hougoumont just here. And here is a line there where they will pop out, and they would receive the musketry volley fire of all these guards and Hanoverians and Jaegers and people like that. And that repulses the first attack. Let's just jump out. So that repulses the first attack from the French. And that first attack really is just a sort of a probing attack. It's because of these trees in this area here, or the woods here, it's not clear exactly what the strength of the position is here at Hougoumont. So it's the first phase. It's kind of like, just gauging it, but it's one, they're knocked back, and this wall here is very important. So in the second phase then, we're talking Wellington is to the northeast of Hougoumont, and so we're talking up here. This is the ridge of Mont Saint-Jean, so we can imagine that Wellington is up here somewhere, and he's looking down. Let's assume he's around about this position, maybe over here. He's looking down that way, and he can see the French movement. So over there on the far horizon, the first movement of the day of the French is to his right. So he's concerned about that, because we know he's really concerned about his supply lines, and he's paranoid about his right flank being turned. He orders at this point Bull's battery. He's got some 6 5.5 inch howitzers, and he wants Bull's howitzers, which I believe is somewhere in this area, to lob some shells over the heads of the defenders, and presumably into the woods. So when he's clear that the woods have been captured, he then asks Bull to start firing on the position. So we know that the French came in through the woods, clearing out, they've got a cloud of tirailleurs clearing out these woods here. They're doing their darndest to be delayed by the Anglo-Dutch army, and they get to this point here and pop out of the wood here, and they receive the volley fire from that wall, which we can see there. and they then press back into the wood, and they're going in this point where they're trying to reorganize. This is when Wellington starts ordering the howitzers down onto the position. And this enables the Allies to push back into the woods, actually. They start harassing the French back again and reoccupy some of the ground again, forcing the French again to fight to win this part of the field once more. So it's always trying to essentially delay the attack on this side for as much as possible. So they reorganize. This is Jerome's division, and about half an hour later, and they reorganize and enter back in again, and they are actually reinforced by some elements of Foy's division. So over here we've got Rail's corps, and you have Jerome on the left, Foy in the middle, and Bachelou on the right-hand side. So already by the second phase, there are elements of Foy's division being dragged into the fight here at Hougoumont. So once again, Lord Salton's light companies, the First Guard, they're pushed back from these woods here. There's some orchards around here as well, and they're forced back into this area here. And this strip of land here, I believe they called it the Protective Way because it's a sort of a it is like it is now. There was no trees at this point here, and so it was kind of a killing ground there. So they call that the Protective Way. So if we mention that, then that's the sort of place that we're talking about. And so again, once again, these light companies are pressed back by the reorganized Jerome with elements of Foy's divisions pressing in and forcing them back, basically, essentially into this enclosure here. This is known as the garden wall here. So any French that try to come in this way, trying to follow Sultan's men, would be attacked through there. Yeah, so the orchard actually extends this section here. So if you imagine essentially this area here extended out, probably actually to somewhere in this area here. So this sort of walled garden here is kind of the center of the position, and then you have it's almost like an extension out this way. This here looks like the edge of the orchard coming out this way here, like this. Now, we talk about, you see, the tactics at the time for Napoleon is to draw, is not, well, one, he wants to attack this position because it does threaten Wellington's right flank, and it would be a great position that if they took this, then they could then obviously threaten his up the ridge on this side here. If it doesn't work though, and it's not 100% successful, what he definitely wants though is for Wellington to move reserves from his centre, so in this section here, to Wellington's right. And we start to get the an inkling of that at around about this time. So the French attack second French attack is coming in. The second phase is occurring, and the Guard light infantry are pulling back into the orchard and into the garden here. And Wellington sends down 4 line companies of the Coldstreamers, and they're essentially coming in to protect the orchard here and secure the eastern flank of Hougoumont, which seems like a decent plan. It keeps these Coldstreamers sort of your you know, within touch of his centre still, but it has meant that he's had to send troops down forwards to his right there. So it's beginning to show cracks, and the plan of Napoleon beginning to work. And the French, during this attack as well, have decided also to come around from the actual western side and to begin to probe along the western flank here. And they're looking for weaknesses in the structure, and they work their way around. And they find that this gate here is blocked. But this gate here was being used to resupply the farmhouse. Colonel Seymour mentioned in letters to Cyborn that ammunition supplies were arriving late in the day, and Macmahon describes a cart of ammunition arriving here around about 1 p.m. and it had come down this sunken hollow way, which we can just see remnants of here. Possibly comes down here, and then they could get in the back of Hougoumont this way. We then find one of the famous episodes here was by a guy called Legros. He was a sous-lieutenant Legros of the 1st Leger. He was nicknamed L'Enfoncière. He takes an axe and begins to weaken the bar, which crossed this gate. And he led a charge into the courtyard here. MacDonald and several officers and Sergeant Graham managed to close the gates, replacing the bar, and the French that had got in were trapped and killed, apart from I believe like one small drummer boy who they spared. And James Graham, Sergeant James Graham, he would receive essentially a pension in 1817 for being the bravest man at Waterloo for shutting that gate. So Wellington had been sending down these coal streamers to drive the French back, restore the situation around the north and west sides of the chateau complex. And once these French got pushed back, the coal streamers would then enter the complex here and added their numbers to MacDonald's garrison. And so we believe at this point then that there's around about 600 troops now stationed in here defending this place. Okay, and the third phase of the attack, they push in, the French push in, they manage to take the orchard. They sent down a massive tirailleurs down the eastern side of the hedge, and then they could fire into the flanks of the defenders here. But they were also receiving fire from this eastern wall of the garden. Wellington then sends another 2 companies of the 3rd Guards to drive down the tirailleurs from this eastern hedge. And that then allows the eastern side of this orchard here to be retaken once more. But again, we're getting, you're hearing this. He keeps sending troops down here. So this is what Napoleon wants. He wants more and more reinforcements to be sent down in this direction. So MacDonald, by this time, in Hougoumont, had received 9 out of the 10 companies of the coal streamers. Thank you, Michael. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Let's jump in the helicopter, do a bit of flying. So yeah, so the Napoleon is trying to get Wellington to bring his reserves in, and of course this is what's starting to happen. These guys, the Coldstreamers, are not they're not troops that you want to use sparingly. They're some of the best troops that he's got. So when he does send them down, he's sending them down for a specific purpose. And that job he wants doing has to be done. And so these guys are the ones who are sent in. And as I say, MacDonald now at Hougoumont has received 9 out of the 10 companies of the Coldstreamers. And the 10th company was the company that held the colours that were remained on the ridge behind. So 6 companies of the 3rd Guard were also moving into the orchard, and by this action, Wellington's committed all of the available support in the immediate vicinity to the garrison, apart from 2 companies, one of the 3rd Guards and one of the Coldstream Guards. And so with the 2nd Line Battalion of the King's German Legion, the light companies of de Plat's brigade we talked about, the Nassau and the Advanced Guard Battalion, the Brunswickers, and they completed this garrison over here. Now these guys, are, the majority of them are not weak, they're not, they're reliable, they're very good, they're veterans, and it just goes to show the importance that Wellington places in to this position. I do believe as well he's sending forward these troops to secure this position, because obviously this is essential, but they're also disciplined enough that when push comes to shove, he could probably pull them back in a disciplined way to his center. And from the French perspective, this is the third phase now of attack on this position, and they have found it difficult to be coordinated. They found it difficult to fight through the woods. They're finding it difficult to come around and attack through the orchard. They've tried to do an assault on this side here, and almost got in, but didn't quite. But they're receiving, they're exposed, their flanks have been exposed, and they are receiving heavy casualties here. And at this point as well, I think Wellington is looking to adjust his line again. He's bringing further support across. He orders Hugh Halkett's Hanoverian Brigade and Mitchell's part of Mitchell's Brigade to move across from the east of the Nivelles Road to the north of Hougoumont and along the lane from the chateau to the road. Now, what does that mean? Well, this is the Nivelles Road here. You can just see it moving off into the distance here. Ignore this modern road. And so he's saying he's moving troops. I think what he's saying is he's readjusting them by moving them back across this way, and into this sort of position here. He orders the 1st Battalion of the 23rd into line and deploys them directly north of Hougoumont Gate to protect the access point. So he's starting to protect the entrance into the chateau in this area here. Now this is this battle we talked about at the beginning and around about any time between 20 past 11 and 12 o'clock, and actually precedes the battle anywhere along this line by about an hour and a half. So this is the main start. So it's kind of like the first jabs, first round, trying to probe and trying to see what the reaction is of your enemy. This sort of seesaw fashioned battle occurs all day long over here, and to the point as well where in a certain sense it draws a lot of the French reserves in. We talked about Jerome being the main division to go in first. Then Foy starts to support him. And then later on, we then get Bachelu's battalions coming from this area here and moving across as well to support. The actual manor of Hougoumont itself was never actually captured at during the fight. So none of the buildings were lost. Here you can see though that there isn't a building. There was buildings here, but they did start to use howitzers eventually and try to set these buildings on fire. And this is where we have this one burnt down. But the fire of the buildings was an inconvenience, but it didn't affect the outcome. They could move people away from the fire. And the ones that were set on fire tended to be on this side here, which wasn't the main defensive positions. When the fire did set out, Wellington was over here on his ridge. We believe somewhere along here. We don't know where exactly, but he had a view of Hougoumont. Let's pretend he was somewhere in this area here. He could see the farm, or at least where the trees were. He could see the position, and he writes a note. He says, it's quite funny because he's obviously if you receive this note from your commanding officer, you probably say no shit Einstein. But he basically says, and I quote, "I see that the fire has communicated from the haystack to the roof of the chateau. You must, however, keep your men in those parts which the fire does not reach. Take care that no men are lost by the falling in of the roof or floors, and after they have fallen in, occupy the ruined walls inside the garden, particularly if it should be possible for the enemy to pass through the embers to the inside of the house." I mean, it's kind of like, teaching your granddad to suck eggs. It's don't be in a burning building, will you? But anyway. It gives you sort of a little bit of a insight into Wellington's man management and delegation skills, I suppose. But it also shows that he is there. He's on that front line. He can see he's with the people, and even though the note probably doesn't help at all, it definitely shows that he is in a position to at least come to some sort of order some reinforcements in whenever it's needed. But we'll see with Napoleon that he probably wasn't spending any other time actually on the battlefield. He was probably couldn't see things, so he wasn't taking so much personal control. Right. There was a number of wounded who were burnt to death in this fire, by the way. And we will find that this position gets more and more isolated during the day. When we get to the French cavalry attacks, it means it becomes almost impossible for any more reinforcements to be sent down. But it did bring in a lot of reinforcements. But what was clever about Wellington, I believe, is that the reinforcements he brings in is in this area here. And this becomes important because the troops that are in this area here, supporting Hougoumont on this side, defending, helping cover the resupply route into it, but essentially protecting the orchard. These troops here will become important later in the battle. When we get to the later stages. Right. On that note then, that's another little section there. We're going to go take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll just wrap up some of the information on this Hougoumont side of things, and then we'll start looking at the other areas of the battlefield itself. But it's important to understand that this is the place where it all begins, the battle, and it also is carrying on most of the day. So it's an essential part of it. Okay, so if you like that, do the thing, like, subscribe, hug, love, and I will see you in a few moments.